Nobody from my family came to my graduation, not even my husband or kids. They all went to my sister's engagement party instead. The auditorium buzzed with laughter and camera flashes. Proud parents held bouquets. Kids waved handmade signs. Couples leaned into each other, cheeks pressed together for photos they'd remember forever. And me? I sat in my graduation gown, cap in hand, feeling the sharp edge of emptiness where my family should have been. For years. That's how long it had taken me to claw my way here. I had juggled 2 part-time jobs, night classes, and raising 2 kids while my husband, Mark, said, "Don't push yourself too hard. You'll burn out," but I pushed anyway. I hadn't gone back to school just for me. I'd done it for my family, for Mark, for our son Caleb and our daughter Sophie. And they had promised they would be here. Not just promised, they had made plans. Mark had joked, "We'll bring a megaphone. Sophie's gonna scream your name so loud, the dean's gonna flinch." But as I scanned the crowd, that promise shattered like glass. The front row seat I'd saved for them was still empty. When my name was called, the applause felt like it belonged to someone else. My smile for the camera was tight, my hands cold. I walked across the stage alone, holding a diploma that had cost me more than money. It had cost me my health, my sleep, and my hope that they'd be proud. When I stepped off the stage and into the hallway, I finally checked my phone. No missed calls. "No, we're running late," texts. Just one message from Mark sent 20 minutes ago. "We need to talk. Urgently." My stomach twisted. I opened it. Another message appeared, one that made my knees nearly give out. "I didn't want you to hear this from someone else, but I'm at your sister Emily's engagement party. We've been seeing each other for a while." The words blurred. The walls felt like they were closing in. Not only had they missed my graduation, they'd gone to her party. Because he was with her. My husband, my sister, my children, all choosing her over me. And in that moment, there was no screaming, no crying, just a quiet, surgical thought cutting through the chaos in my mind. "You made your choice. Now I'll make mine." Outside, the crisp spring air bit at my skin, but it was nothing compared to the ice in my chest. I opened Instagram. Emily's account was public. There it was, engagement bash, in glittery gold letters over a series of photos. Mark grinning, his arm around her. My daughter Sophie holding Emily's bouquet like she was the flower girl. My son Caleb laughing with Emily's fiancé like he'd known him forever. My parents holding champagne glasses, smiling like I didn't exist. I kept scrolling until I saw something that made me stop. A photo of Mark and Emily dancing, his hand low on her back, her lips brushing his ear. My throat tightened. I could almost hear their laughter, feel the warmth of the room they were in, while I had walked across that stage to nothing. But then, in my feed, a glitch. Emily had posted and quickly deleted a shot of her and Mark kissing, her hand proudly showing the diamond ring he had given her, the same one he'd once told me we couldn't afford for our own anniversary. I took a screenshot. My hands were shaking, but not from heartbreak anymore, from focus. I went home. The house was dark, quiet. Everything still in place, like my life hadn't been set on fire just hours ago. But I had prepared for this in ways they couldn't imagine. I had my own accounts, my own savings, my own paper trail. While Mark had thought I was too busy studying to notice the late nights and missing money, I'd been quietly gathering proof, not just of his cheating, but of every cent he had shifted into accounts tied to my sister's business. I opened my laptop. In one window, bank statements, emails, and screenshots. In another, the number of my lawyer friend, Madison. I typed one message. "It's time. Call me in the morning." 2 days passed. I ignored Mark's texts. I ignored Emily's smug DM that read, "You'll understand someday. Love isn't always fair." Instead, I worked in silence. Thursday morning, I sent an email to the HR department of the marketing firm where Mark was a senior manager. The subject line was short. Code of conduct violation. Attached, screenshots of him and Emily. Financial documents proving he'd used company credit cards for business trips that were actually weekends with her, and a thread from his work email, forwarded from Emily's phone. in which he bragged about using his position to secure her business a major client. I didn't send it from my account. I sent it from a burner laptop at a public library an hour away. By Friday night, Mark's LinkedIn profile was updated to open to work. Emily's business account had posted an announcement about unexpected restructuring. And then, as if the universe wanted to give me one more piece of satisfaction, my mother called. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was short, but telling. Your sister's engagement is postponed. There's a lot going on. Maybe we should talk. I smiled, not because I wanted them back in my life, but because the cracks were starting to show. They had chosen to humiliate me on the day I had fought hardest for myself. Now, I was going to dismantle their world. Quietly, legally, completely. By Monday morning, the quiet destruction I'd set in motion was in full swing. Mark tried to use his corporate card to pay for lunch, declined. He called the bank. They told him his accounts had been flagged for investigation. Emily's boutique, the one she'd bragged about building from scratch, suddenly had its biggest supplier pull out. The client she'd landed thanks to Mark's company resources was under review for breach of contract. I didn't even need to see their faces to know they were panicking. That afternoon, Madison, my lawyer friend, met me at a coffee shop with a thick folder. "Are you sure you want to go all in?" she asked, sliding the documents toward me. I didn't hesitate. They made their choice the day they decided my humiliation was entertainment. Inside the folder were 3 things: asset protection transfers, moving my private savings, investments, and property rights into a protected trust; custody filing drafts, citing Mark's abandonment of our children on my graduation day, plus his documented affair with their aunt; a property deed clause, something Mark never paid attention to, because I had quietly kept the house in my name only. By the time I signed, my path was set. They couldn't touch my assets. They couldn't twist my story. Madison leaned back. "You've been preparing for this for a while, haven't you?" I smiled faintly. You could say I was studying for more than just a degree. That evening, there was pounding on my front door. It was Mark. His tie was loose, his eyes bloodshot. Emily stood behind him, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "Please, we just need to talk," Mark said. They've gotten out of hand." I opened the door just enough to let the cold air in, but not them. "Out of hand?" I repeated. "You mean losing your job or losing the engagement you bought with company money?" Emily's lips pressed into a thin line. "It's not what you think." I laughed, a low, humorless sound. "Oh, I think it's exactly what I think." Mark's voice cracked. "I made a mistake. We made a mistake. But the kids," I interrupted, "are doing just fine. And they'll be staying with me. You'll get the paperwork in the morning." Emily tried to step forward, but I blocked the doorway. "This house isn't yours," I told Mark. "It never was. You'll see the legal proof soon enough." "Oh, and Emily," I glanced at her. "Hope your suppliers enjoy the emails I forwarded them." Her eyes widened. "You wouldn't." I closed the door. I didn't slam it. I wanted the soft, final click to be the last thing they heard. By Wednesday, Mark's accounts were officially frozen. The joint savings? Gone, transferred into my trust. His company pension? Locked until the investigation was resolved. Even his car, a sleek company-leased SUV, had been repossessed overnight. Emily's boutique shuttered temporarily due to inventory issues. In reality, 3 major vendors had pulled contracts after seeing proof of her fraudulent partnership deal with Mark. The phone calls started. My mother, my father, Emily's best friend, even Mark's brother. They all wanted to understand my side of the story. I didn't answer. Let them wonder. Let them piece it together themselves. One night, I got a text from an unknown number. A video. Mark sat on the edge of a cheap motel bed, looking smaller. His voice was raw. "I've lost everything, Anna. I don't even know where I'm supposed to go from here. Please, just talk to me." I didn't reply. I forwarded it to Madison. She filed it under evidence, emotional state. For the first time in weeks, I slept through the night. 2 weeks later, the divorce proceedings began. Mark's lawyer looked defeated before we even started. Madison had everything, the proof of his affair, his financial misconduct, the abandonment on my graduation day. Emily had been subpoenaed as a witness, but she tried to plead irrelevant involvement. The judge didn't buy it. In the end, the ruling was clear. I retained sole custody of Caleb and Sophie. The house remained entirely mine. Mark was responsible for child support, an amount calculated based on his previous salary, not his current unemployment. Emily's business debts were her own, but the damage to her reputation was irreversible. When the gavel came down, Mark didn't even look at me. Emily, however, glared like I'd stolen something from her. She still didn't get it. I hadn't stolen a thing. I'd simply taken back what was mine and made sure they could never hurt me again. The next morning, the whole house felt heavy. The smell of cinnamon rolls drifted from the kitchen, but even that sweetness couldn't cut through the tension in the air. I found Nana at the dining table, sipping her coffee like nothing had happened. The gilded box still sat there untouched. She looked up and smiled, but there was a flicker in her eyes. "Morning, sweetheart. Did you sleep well?" "Not really," I admitted. She tilted her head. "Because of last night?" I sat across from her. "Because of everything." For the first time, she didn't have a quick retort. Instead, she reached into her sweater pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I was going to wait until later," she said softly, "but I think you should have this now." I unfolded it and froze. It was a letter, written in her delicate cursive, addressed to me. "My dearest," it began, "if you're reading this, it means I've chosen you to carry something I never could." My pulse quickened as I read. She wrote about our family history, not the pretty version she told at holidays, but the real one. The broken relationships, the betrayals, the way favoritism had quietly destroyed every branch of our tree. And at the end, she wrote, "The box isn't a gift, it's a choice. What you do with what's inside will decide the next chapter for all of us." I looked up, but she just nodded toward the box. "Go on then." My hands trembled as I lifted the lid. Inside was not money, not jewelry, not even something you could put a price on. It was a bundle of old letters, photographs, and a single silver key. The letters were decades old, written between my grandparents, but also to people I didn't recognize. The photographs showed faces I'd never seen before, standing in front of a small farmhouse. And the key, it had a worn tag tied to it with the words, "Oak Street Home." I stared at her. "What is this?" She took a slow breath. "It's the part of our family we erased. And now, it's yours to bring back."